Welcome back to the Heat Check Podcast, episode 35. It is Saturday, January 4th, 2025. Yes, that's right. Valley Sports Plug is back and better than ever in the new year. We are recommitted, rededicated, revamped in theory. So we'll get to it. But we are back. This is episode 35, like I mentioned, and we got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about ASU football and their performance in the Peach Bowl, Phoenix Suns, and not going to so much talk on their season, more so the rumors swirling of the Miami Heat forward Jimmy Butler requesting a trade, now being suspended 7 games by the organization. So some interesting things to consider there. The Arizona Diamondbacks have made some moves in the offseason. They made a trade with the Cleveland Guardians to acquire first baseman Josh Naylor, also signing Corbin Burns to a big 6-year deal. And then last, we're going to talk about the Arizona Cardinals, but not quite what you think. This podcast will be out on January 9th, 2025. On Tuesday, January 7th, 2025, if my math works there, we're going to be doing we will have done our Arizona Cardinals season review post-mortem of their season. So make sure you go check that out. But no, here on the Heat Check Podcast, episode 35, we're going to talk about our way too early off-season hopes and predictions. But guys, I failed to mention, I am, of course, your host, Chris Patrick of the Heat Check Podcast, joined by my wonderful co-host back in the new year. First, from the year 3000, the king of Baccarat, VSP Tallman.
Yeah, baby. What's going on?
The king.
I am a time traveler.
Here, you can take this.
Here we go. I'm the king now. I'm the king. How you guys doing?
Good, man. So you're
New
from
year, new me.
You're from the future. Do the Cardinals win a Super Bowl before the year 3000?
Fuck no.
Oh, no.
I'm just kidding.
Well, we'll have to see how his hopes and predictions goes when we get there. But also, that other voice you're hearing is the owner and operator of the official Bradley Beal fan club,
Heyo.
Michael Benjamin.
I hate Bradley Beal. All my homies hate Bradley Beal. Gentlemen, 2025, welcome to a new year. I'm so excited to dive into today's episode. But how you guys doing? You got any New Year's resolutions yet?
Oh, shit.
Man, I mean, New Year, same me.
There we go.
Let's
Let's be realistic.
Let's be
here.
real.
Yeah, come on.
It's still fuck Brad Beal. Like Mike said, all my homies hate Bradley Beal. I'm gonna try and I'm not making any like super specific resolutions. I'm just gonna try and work on myself, my health and wellness. I'm trying out this dry January thing.
Boo.
So I got some water here and
sorry,
a NOS energy drink.
We'll
This
cover
is too
for
dry.
yeah.
Thank
We'll cover.
You guys got to do
cover for you,
double duty
Chris.
now
There we
for
go.
me.
I did dry New Year's Day because I drank too much the night before.
Yeah, that's fair, man. Tom, what about you? Any resolutions?
Yeah, so this is a funny one. My resolution is to go to the dentist.
Heyo. That's a good
When
one.
was the
That's
last
a good
time
one.
you guys went to the dentist?
2 years ago?
Yeah.
See,
couple
okay.
years.
So I think I'm pushing maybe 4 or 5 years. But
Okay.
like I don't have any pain or anything. You know, like I take care of my teeth and shit. But I think I need to go because, I'm past my prime. Some would say, turning a year older
We're proud of-
recently.
That's the thing, right, Tallman? We're proud of you. You're getting old, man.
Yeah.
You are definitely past your prime. You're not over the hill just yet, but I'm with you. Yeah, I went to go get my blood drawn and all that good stuff last year.
I need to do that too.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
it's growing up. Growing up sucks, but you got to do it.
Yeah, and it's easy when you're a kid. Your mom makes these appointments and drags you to them, and then when you're an adult, you have to make those calls and set those appointments yourself. I love when you're standing at the front desk and they're like, "All right, so can we book you for a year from now, Tuesday, August 4th?" And you're like, "Yeah, let me check my calendar. Yeah, a year from now, I'm
think
wide
so.
open."
Yeah.
Dude, I don't even have a calendar for next week.
So it's like, I don't know. That's always gonna be funny to me. But anyway, not here to talk about the ails of growing old and being over the hill. We're all about the same average age of the Diamondbacks' potential starting rotation, if you can find any solace in that. But before we get to the Diamondbacks, let's start from the top. You guys, we're going to have timestamps in the details section on YouTube and Spotify where you can find us. Also Apple Podcasts, really anywhere you can find podcasts, you can stream us. But mainly our YouTube page is where we have all our video content. We do live streams, recaps, podcasts. We got the Heat Check podcast. We got Valley of the Suplex. Mike and I, we do Pass the outlet. That's what it's called.
Yep.
Yeah, so a whole lot of stuff, and I think we're going to have a little meeting of the minds here, and we're going to set a plan for the new year, and I'm excited to share that with you in the coming weeks. But if you're back with us in the new year, thank you so much. Like and subscribe here on YouTube. Follow us at AZ_VSP across all socials. Gentlemen, Arizona State Sun Devils football overachieved. Baby. I know for me, it's a mixed bag of emotions. I'm both extremely proud and happy with what they accomplished. Obviously, the Big 12 championship is something they'll always be able to hang their hat on. Making the expanded playoff, being the 4th seed, all incredible, but that came to an end with a loss in double overtime in the Peach Bowl against the Texas Longhorns. The final score 39-31, ending in a pick thrown by Sam Leavitt. So pretty disappointing ending. There's a lot of coulda, shoulda, woulda, but high level, Mike, what are your thoughts on ASU and their performance?
Absolutely stellar. I think that's the only way that anybody who supports the Sun Devils can feel. It is tough, and we're going to get into it in the fashion that the Sun Devils did lose that game to Texas. But if you just truly think about how that game went, I mean, you're down by 16 points with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. A lot of people had basically nailed the coffin close at that point, and all they did was fight to the finish. And I think my favorite thing too, gentlemen, was, I'm always a little bit skeptical about guys who like to toot their own horn, and I'm talking specifically about Cam Skattebo. But you know what he did?
He was talking the talk.
All he did was come out and back everything up. If you truly think about it, I mean, a game of the ages, 30 carries, 143 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also was a leading receiver with 8 catches and 99 yards. What is that? 242 all-purpose yards. Oh, yeah, and throw in a touchdown pass for a 42-yarder. I mean, the kid did it all. He was vomiting on the sideline because he was giving everything.
Puke and rally.
That he had. But you have to feel proud. I know we're going to get into the nitty-gritty as time goes on here, but that's all you can feel right now if you're a Sun Devils fan. Absolutely. You're proud.
Oh, 100%. And Tallman, when we were talking here in show prep, we were talking about Cam Skattebo. Watched the ESPN piece they did.
Yeah, that was cool.
I thought it was really awesome, but man, his draft stock has got to be boosted. And there was that line in there where Kenny said after last season that he said if you want to be a Sunday guy, you have to really buckle down. What I wanted to ask you about Cam Skattebo is I kind of forgot, but
it's okay.
Overall,
I think I know where you're going with it.
Yeah, no, overall, that's right. What you had said when bringing up what you said is that you said it's such a shame that we don't get him again next year.
Yeah, I mean, just how magical this season was, and let's be real, guys. ASU doesn't do this without Cam Skattebo. Sam Leavitt showed us that as a freshman, he's gonna be a star in the state of Arizona playing for ASU. That's a given, right? As long as he stays, hopefully
fingers crossed.
Hopefully those local donors get him some deals here, keep the kid happy. But without Cam Skattebo, it's not the same. I mean, it was every single game, he was just absolutely electric, and he was the heartbeat of the offense. There's no doubt about it. And then what's crazy is, even though, I mean, he finished up 5th in the Heisman, so 5th in the Heisman voting, which is crazy. A guy, just the journey that he went through. No FBS offers, going to Sacramento State, and then getting that offer and transferring to ASU. I mean, to finish 5th, I mean, that's an accomplishment of its own. But his draft stock, though, is what you mentioned. I mean, because I was watching, because he was killing it towards the end of the season.
Oh yeah.
Well, he was killing it the entire season, but it was like, okay, when are the national people going to be like, who's this Cam kid? When are they going to start talking about him? I was looking at all the mock drafts, even a month and a half ago. I was like, where is his name? How is he not on this list?
Right, yeah.
Because he wasn't on any list. So, I mean, he was playing on the biggest stage. I think that Peach Bowl, I think it was the second most watched college football game this season, I believe, in ratings. And it was the most watched until it was beat by the Rose Bowl, which happened. So everybody got to experience and learn who Cam Skattebo is and find out what we've all known all year long about this kid. But I think the highest that we've seen him ranked was, I think, late in the 3rd round, 84th overall. And, I mean, and he proved it. I mean, he went up against arguably the best defense in college football, a team that was in the top 5 all season long. So, and he proved it more than I would say Ashton Genty did, which I've seen Ashton Genty as high as number 10 overall, which is
Wow. That's
which
crazy.
is fucking crazy. But I mean, so Cam Skattebo still does what Cam Skattebo does against a top ranked defense. And then, I mean, I don't know if you guys watched the Fiesta Bowl, but I mean, Genty didn't have a huge impact on that game. I think he finished just over 100 yards, but it wasn't nearly the impact that Cam Skattebo
He had to
had,
work
but-
for those 100 yards.
Oh, he sure did. I only watched like the first half, and he was running into brick wall after brick wall after brick wall. So it's great. It's exciting to see that this kid, he's going to get an opportunity, because I bet you he will be a 3rd round pick, if not, if the latest, a 4th round pick. But he's going to get a chance to play on Sunday, and I'm just extremely happy for him. But wish he was coming back next season, because, man, wouldn't that be fun? A lot of anticipation if he was coming back.
Yeah, for sure. And Mike, I guess to kind of, piggyback off that a little bit, if the stars aligned, would you like to see Cam Skattebo in Cardinal red?
Ooh,
Say
Christopher.
yes.
You get my juices flowing now, man. Absolutely. Are you kidding me?
It's a no-brainer.
I mean, if you really think about it, anytime you can bring a hometown kid into the professional team, there's just something special about that. It doesn't matter. I mean, we saw that to a certain extent with Christian Kirk, because I think he went to Mountain Edge, or I don't know. He went to high school here, right?
Oh, okay.
And then he went to Texas A&M, but he has those Valley ties. A guy who I just most recently met, Roy Lopez, who's our defensive tackle right now. He went to Marcos Deniza. Like,
No
there's
shit.
always
Wow.
something
Didn't know
that's a little bit more special when you got that Valley blood in you and you get to stay and play professional. It doesn't matter what the sport is, right? I mean, we were having the same kind of conversations about Saban Lee, who was a Corona del Sol grad, So there's just something that's always cool about that. But also, in the grand scheme of things, Cam Skattebo could be a difference maker for any team that's going to get him, to be honest. And if you can add somebody like that to your roster, you always want him. And absolutely.
100%. And I feel like the way that the NFL game has shifted as well, where you don't need, but it's often where a lot of the success in guys like Christian McCaffrey are coming out of the backfield, being able to catch passes. I mean, even Derrick Henry is getting quite a few receptions throughout this season, and he's kind of a similar build where it's like a kind of a big bulldozer style running back. But the versatility and the hybrid nature of Cam Skattebo, I mean, I think any NFL team should want to take a look at him, to draft him where it makes sense. I think, 3rd round is pretty good. I mean, there's 7 rounds in the NFL draft, so somebody's going to take this kid
someone's gonna take
at
a
some
flyer.
point. There's no doubt in my mind this kid's going to go play in the NFL. Right now, when I checked pre-recording, he was projected, I think, pick 94 or something, 97 maybe, to the Minnesota Vikings. In after the 3rd round, they do like the compensatory picks or whatever they're called, something like that. So it was in that bunch. So because I initially thought it was like early 3rd round, but since it's the beginning, it was like the basically late 3rd, or into that like kind of edging towards 4th round. But either way, that's getting too much in the weeds. He's definitely going to be in the NFL. But Mike, I do want to go back, how you mentioned we kind of want to dissect the Peach Bowl game a little bit more, and break down a little bit of what happened. I want to focus more on kind of later in the game. In leading up to the end of the game, it was tied. Arizona State had the ball. There was about a minute left, less than a minute left.
I think it was just above 2 minutes, if I'm not mistaken.
That makes sense. Because, Texas did have to burn a good bit of clock towards the end. But anyway, to not getting ahead of myself, it was, and correct me if I get any of this wrong here, it was basically the essence of it was a targeting non-call where Leavitt had passed it over the middle and dude got his head taken off. They reviewed it for targeting, and if it had been confirmed targeting, it would have put Arizona State on the other side of the 50, nearing field goal range, in a position to potentially either kick the winning field goal or continue their drive into the end zone. Was reversed. We ended up punting, and then that's when Texas drove down. Their head coach Sarkisian, is that their coach?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Gave their field goal kicker maybe the worst pep talk in history, and he doinked a field goal
right off the upright.
and we were heading to overtime.
The 2-hand pats. You got this, kid.
So someone else take it out. So now we're in overtime. Mike, what happened next?
it was a slow drive. That's kind of how the offense seemed to be going for Arizona State most of the game, right? But it comes down to a long third down, and Sam Leavitt pulls the Houdini act and has an incredible, I think, 14, 15-yard run to put it to first and goal. And then Cam Skattebo ends up getting dragged over
basically
the line
into
by the big
end zone.
offensive lineman. It was awesome to see. But, Chris, I'd be remiss if we don't back it up a little bit here, right? We've got to back it up to that targeting call. And it wasn't just a point of contention for Arizona State fans. It was a point of contention, it seemed like, for the nation and people who were watching this game. I can't believe how many, people who were reaching out on X talking about, if this isn't targeting, if this is not targeting, then what is anymore? The tackle, the form was not made to go down at all. It was completely within stride. He didn't lower his helmet. He just went head-to-head contact with the guy. And I know a lot of people, I think you guys were talking about how when Quinn Ewers threw that interception earlier, they were talking about, well, how is that not targeting? And Tallman, didn't you say, well, I mean, the play was made underneath his chest, like kind of underneath his face mask.
Yes,
I mean, go ahead.
So with that, because, with this whole targeting non-call, the only people that think it was not targeting are Texas fans. Let's get that clear.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, with the other one earlier, the interception, which totally turned momentum over to ASU to tie the game, you had this one safety coming in, making the interception, and then behind that, the other safety was jumping up to try to make a play at the ball, but made contact with the receiver, but he was up in the air. So his shoulder made contact with the lower face mask and mostly chest area. So there was no hit with the crown of the helmet.
It was a hard hit for sure,
and
it looked gnarly.
Yeah, the Texas receiver
but it wasn't
got laid out.
No.
Yeah, that was a hard hit, but that was by no means was that head-to-head contact, and he did not hit him in the head or neck, or sort of maybe a little neck area, but the brunt of the hit was shoulder pad to the chest pad of the Texas receiver. So, and then
is targeting specifically helmet to helmet, or is it just targeting the head
or neck area?
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, just so imagine if you're one of those refs and you got to make the decision potentially if you call targeting on that play against or when with Stovall getting hit. That's who got hit, right? Stovall.
Yeah, I believe so.
If you're that ref making that call, I mean, do you really want to make that call where you're going to decide, you could potentially decide the outcome of the game? I mean, everybody thought it was targeting. So the fact that this ref was potentially scared to make that call, I mean, come on, what do you think? How do you not call that? That's targeting 100 times.
That's what I'm saying.
Times.
That kind of question can't even come into play. It can't be situational. Doesn't matter how much time is on the clock.
Correct.
You can't be asking yourself, do I want to make the call that's going to determine the game? It's, am I making the right call or not?
Exactly. And then even then on the broadcast, you guys were watching it, the rules analyst came in and said, that is 100% targeting. And then they've been calling targeting like crazy all season. Anything close to head-to-head, leading with the crown of the helmet, any deliberate hit to the head or neck area, they were calling it all season long. And the fact that they didn't call it in a huge moment because it could potentially decide the outcome of the game, it's ridiculous. And it's part of the whole SEC fucking Big Ten shit. Oh, no, we can't let the underdog ASU potentially win this game and fuck up the rest of the playoffs. I mean, granted, that's some conspiracy shit, and we could put on our tinfoil hats, but come on, man.
I'm here for it, though. Like, the SEC bias is very clear, blatant, and obvious, whether it's the College Football Committee, the national media, and I understand there's a lot of big money donors tied to the SEC. So, I mean, I don't think it's an unfair question to ask if they're floating around all this money for these programs and the players. Who's not to say they're not doing shady shit? Like, is the mafia on the side of the SEC? Like,
I've been watching The Sopranos, man.
and here's the other thing. And obviously, when time goes along, you have more time to dissect the tape and start nitpicking about what things might have gone the wrong way. So these were the two other things that I talked to you guys about in show prep. On the punt return touchdown by Texas, there is a ASU defender who is clearly blocked in the back trying to make a tackle that leads to the touchdown, right? Big play that can change momentum, especially early on in that game when it was kind of slow paced. ASU was going on long drives, but couldn't finish, had got some fourth downs that they didn't convert. And especially at the beginning when Texas, gets the ball, 2-3 plays, 70 yards, they're in the end zone. Yeah. Then they get that punt return. And you're thinking how a lot of other people were talking about how this game was going to be a boat race and Texas was going to kill ASU.
Right.
And then I think the other thing is, as we move forward, right, ASU ties the game. Texas kicker, I think it was Aubrey, misses the 2 kicks.
Yeah.
ASU scores, and it's 4th and 13. And Matthew Bond, I think is the wide receiver, had a great game, makes that 4th and 13 catch. Mm-hmm. And you can clearly see him not make control and the ball come out as he hits the ground.
Oh shit! I didn't remember.
I don't know if you've seen that.
No, I didn't see that either.
Well,
Mike's
don't worry.
on us.
We'll show it to you.
Yeah.
So key contributing plays that change the outcome of the game. Now, like I said, you go back. We're not going to make excuses. The way that ASU played in the first half is what was truly the detriment. And in overtime, when you had the chance to get a team off the field, the zero blitz, cover zero, I don't know if that's the best. Obviously, in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't the right call. But there were other factors that led to ASU not winning this game. But I thought that scoring plays are supposed to be reviewed, or is that just the pros? Like, what are the rules anymore? That was the other thing I got to talk to you. I thought it was the third overtime you have to go for 2, but no, it's technically the second overtime. Like, what are the rules? Apparently, a lot of America doesn't know them because
the
we all thought
don't even know
it was a targeting, but we are just, deers in the headlights just trying to figure out what the hell's going on, but we're so enthused by how fun of a game this is. It just sucks that some of that is, drenched in what ifs and the tinfoil hat club kind of bullshit.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, and it's like there were those tough breaks, and I think that's what's so hard for me is because when they said they were going to review the targeting call, I was pretty certain that they were going to call it targeting, especially with, like you said, how much attention they put on player safety and how much importance, and trying to deter guys from doing that by implementing that. It's the reason why the conspiracy theories are there, but I bring that up again to say that it wasn't their last chance. Obviously, Aubrey goes and misses a field goal, we're heading to overtime. Kind of tit for tat. That 3rd and 13 though, Kenny Dillingham did come out and he took full responsibility, said that was his call, and the guy that got beat basically over the top, like he basically, Kenny said he was coached to react to the play that way, and so it's not he's basically trying to take all the blame for himself.
He's falling on the sword.
Yeah, and how they coach players.
As he should.
And as they should. I mean, I'm really impressed with Kenny Dillingham and this whole team. That game was just so disappointing, and you could tell that Texas had completely stolen the momentum after they scored, because it went ASU, then Texas goes first, and then ASU.
Yeah,
and they kind of flip like that.
In the second overtime, they scored on the first play.
Yeah,
to the tight end.
So they basically like boom, 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 had all the momentum, had all the energy. It was kind of crazy, because that game was in Georgia.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Atlanta.
And ASU traveled pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
Jake Plummer was there on the sideline, fired up.
Stud.
Absolutely sick.
What is it? Those cybocell? I don't even know how
psilocybin.
Yeah. Cybocellin.
Those psilocybin mushrooms, man. They got him feeling good. No, it was cool, man. It was, it's just such a far cry from where ASU and specifically the football program was just a couple of years ago with all the sanctions. And, we've had plenty of conversations about that. But to see the buy-in for Kenny Dillingham already, once again, a Valley guy, a guy who is a Sun Devil, the blood is thicker than water kind of stuff. And he's starting to kind of preach that to his team. And that's why I think, a lot of people are a little bit nervous about what happens with Sam Leavitt. Obviously, there's already a lot of praise and high talks about, a Heisman candidate next year. And with the NIL so in flux and no rules behind it, a lot of people are still going to be worried. If the bag is thrown at him, what's the true number that makes him leave, no matter what mentality has been instilled with him from Kenny Dillingham.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Sometimes when you see the success like ASU just had, and if you really think about it, the kid has a bright future. And if he continues to move forward, he's going to have a path to playing on Sundays as well. You know, the paycheck at the end of the day, if you stick it out with a place that you're trying to build into a perennial powerhouse in the Big 12, you know, you become more of a legend status there, and the money can come further along the line with that too. Because guys, if you really think about it, come on now, Cam Skattebo only played at ASU for 2 seasons. Cam Skattebo is already a certified Arizona State legend, one of the best Arizona State Sun Devil football players of all time. You don't think that they're going to end up putting him in the rafters like Pat Tillman, Frank Cush, all those kind of guys, and he's going to be beloved 20, 30, 40 years from now. So if you can build that kind of legend status for yourself, and I think that's the kind of things that Kenny is starting to preach to some of these young guys who he sees as cornerstones, which is a positive, and that means the only trajectory for ASU is going up.
100%. I mean, at the end of the day, this was a season to remember no matter what. There's no way that any ASU fan can look at this season and say it was a failure. They overachieved at pretty much every avenue, and they were competitive in every game right until the end when they lost to Texas. And I know, Tallman, you had said if they were to have won that game and played Ohio, you think they would have gotten routed.
Absolutely.
Which the way Ohio manhandled Oregon might not be too far off, but
it was shocking.
But to kind of speak on, Tallman, I kind of want you to speak on what Mike was saying here about Sam Leavitt. And I think you had said the reports are that he has a $5 million NIL offer. One of you guys said that to go to Oregon, and he's from Oregon, so that's enticing. But I think Mike lays out a pretty strong case where it's like, you're a freshman, came in, handed the keys as the starter, no indication that they're going to bring up anyone to take your job. I think a lot of the times when quarterbacks go into the transfer portal, it's because there's such a logjam at the quarterback position that they want to go somewhere where they can for sure be a certified starter with a good program. Is it an upgrade to go to Oregon, or is it more of a lateral move if he were to do that?
Well, nah, I mean, Oregon's
a downgrade.
Oregon's a big. I mean, they finished the college football season number 1. I mean, they're a big time program. Yeah, they're a perennial powerhouse, right? But I mean, where Leavitt's at right now, I mean, he already said he's coming back. He said only ASU makes sense. I mean, the bond that he's got with his head coach, and then I mean, he's already stolen the Valley's heart. You know, like and this season proved that he can be. We can succeed, and he could win a championship or make a deep run in the college football playoff here at ASU. Yeah. So I was watching, and he's already doing Circle K commercials.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I saw him in a Circle K commercial. I was like, who's that little kid? And I was like, oh shit, that's Sam Leavitt.
Sam Leavitt.
Get you a Polar Pop.
Young. He was standing in front of the fountain drinks too, actually.
Ooh.
So
how would you guys have liked to have been at this game?
That would have been kind of cool.
Yeah.
So we're looking at Bengals Steelers starting Saturday Night Football. They're playing in Pittsburgh, and they're showing some pregame warm-ups, and it's snowing, baby.
Nice and chilly.
It's snowing.
19 degrees it is.
That's on my bucket list, man.
Ooh. Well, a snow game.
A snow game.
That'd
be so cool.
I still think we picked the right time to go to Pittsburgh last year. It wasn't.
Dude, we're from Arizona. Of course, we're gonna go early. What do you mean? Shit. But no, with Leavitt, I mean, he's got it made here. This job is his to lose. Mm-hmm. Why would you go and risk that somewhere else when it's not guaranteed? Granted, next season's not guaranteed. The success next year absolutely is not guaranteed, but he's in a good position, and he's already the clear-cut leader of this team, especially going into next year when all the new kids come in and they're like, oh shit, there's Sam Leavitt. They just made it. Yeah. They made it all the way to the the quarterfinals of the playoffs, and almost kicked the shit out of number 5. Or no, what did Texas finish ranked? Was it number 3?
They were number 5 in the college football playoff. Yeah.
Okay, their seeding was number 5 in the playoffs, but you know it's everybody has their price. Yeah, let's be real. I mean, come on. If someone came down and I mean, the $5 million is crazy.
Dude, $5 million's a lot, man.
Especially when you're 20 years old.
Yeah.
You know, that's
But I
That's
will say
crazy.
this. I mean, isn't Sam Leavitt the same guy that said all of his, money that he was getting from endorsements or whatever already was going directly back to his teammates in the Sun Angel Fund? So maybe he's
Yeah, I
already
think
showing
you
his
mentioned
cards
that, yeah.
that it's not about,
Not about
the
the
money
money,
right
yeah.
now. It's about something more, and you just don't find that nowadays.
No, that's very true. It's like almost like he's investing in himself, knowing that it's going to pay off in the future, whether that's additional NIL deals here or a future NFL career potentially. But I think it does make the most sense for him to stay here right now. You have the starting job secured already. You just went on an amazing run. I assume he also has a really strong connection with Kenny Dillingham. You are doing so much for recruiting. There haven't been any notable players on the ASU's roster who have entered the transfer portal. All the guys who have entered were not impact players. And there are guys, I can't name any of them off the top of my head, but I know we talked about it with the Millers, that there are a couple of guys coming in that were previously highly rated prospects, as well as just the senior class guys that we're going to be able to get to come to commit here. Because how many kids potentially had offers from ASU and were, thinking about it, but then saw them do this run, win the Big 12 championship, and like, well, shit, and see all the excitement. I want to be a part of that.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it does make the most sense for Sam Leavitt. He's only a freshman. And so if he has next year and maybe the ASU steps back, you don't think Oregon's not still going to have an offer for him on the table as long as he isn't the one who takes a step back? So I think he brings it back. He comes back next season. I don't think he has to come out and be like, I'm going to play all 4 years for ASU, take it season by season. And he's a young guy. He's going to be around for a while. Because how often do quarterbacks finish all 4 years of college? Pretty frequently, right?
Well,
But sometimes like Baker came out early, right?
before NIL,
and
it
Mayfield
used to be
came
all
out
the
early,
time.
right? Yeah.
That's very true.
But
But I mean, you have to think comparatively for college football. There are so many more teams. So yeah, a lot of guys, especially if they don't have the true prospects to go play in the NFL or might not have, a chance to get drafted or even undrafted or be on a practice squad, those guys are going to stick around playing for as long as they can. And I mean, crap, who was the Utah quarterback who's been in
7
college
years
for
or something
7
like that?
years?
Cam
or-
Rising is that his
Rising,
name?
yeah, wow.
Those are obviously one-off occasions.
And I think he's
but-
trying to get another year of eligibility.
Oh,
'cause he
get
got-
out of here, dude.
Because he got
It's-
hurt early
it's-
in the season.
It's a
It's
real
time to
life
get
Van Wilder.
Yeah,
It's time
right.
to get drafted into
He
the
looks
workforce.
old too, man.
Did you guys see that Washington linebacker who put out kind of like a social media post thanking the Huskies for, his 4 years and everything? And he's like, I'm declaring myself available for hire. Because he knew that he wasn't going to be going on to play in the pros. I loved it. But yeah, I mean,
awesome.
yeah, Chris, I think you said it perfectly. I don't think, okay, there's always a little bit of skepticism, but after this kind of run, how is Sam Leavitt not going to want to run it back, especially with the weapons that they're gaining? I know they're getting that 1,000-yard rusher from Army. They're getting a
Running
couple of
back from Army,
guys,
yeah.
a nice wide receiver from Houston. They're reloading on the offensive side, especially they're losing Xavier Guillory. You got Jordan Tyson coming back from an injury last year, who's starting to, cement himself as one of the best receivers in the Big 12 as well. So everything's bright. Why would you not want to be around for that? And that's all dude, that's how college athletics are now. Like, you can literally only go year by year. Like, if you think about it, there was the rumors that, or not rumors, Bryce James, LeBron James' son, signed to commit to U of A.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is he going to be there more than 1 year? Who knows? Just be excited that he's going to go for 1 year, and then you do it every single year after that. That's basically what era we live in, the NIL era now.
Yeah, no, that's very true. And I mean, with not Bronny, would you say Bryce James? Is he supposed to be better than Bronny?
He's bigger, right?
He's bigger.
Taller? Yeah.
He's bigger, but we'll see. We'll dissect that one on Past the Outlet. How about that, Chris?
That sounds good. But we do have to talk a
about
little bit
that?
of basketball here on the Heat Check podcast.
Boo. I'm just kidding.
Mentioned it at the top of the show. The Phoenix Suns are directly tied to trade rumors with the Miami Heat for their forward and star, Jimmy Buckets Butler. Oh, man. Mike, you were saying he's played just about as many games as Bradley Beal. Pretty much the only way this trade is going to work is if Bradley Beal is a part of it. I still haven't really done any solid research or figuring out if Bradley Beal still has his no trade clause. I assume he does.
He does.
So, I mean, if you're Bradley Beal, either way, your contract's guaranteed. He's going to make $57 million in the final year of his contract. Now, how much does he care who that team is, who that team's going to be with? Does he want to stay with Booker and Durant with a fan base that absolutely hates him, or does he want to go play with Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo for a team that's evidently going to hate him? I mean, I guess it was. I also think I should mention Butler was suspended on Friday by the Heat organization, not the NBA, the Heat organization, for multiple instances of conduct detrimental to the team. Mike, what was he doing that was detrimental to the team? Was it all the trade rumors swirling and his agent, or what was it? I haven't really figured that out.
Well, gentlemen, the multiple items of misconduct were just the multiple words that Jimmy Butler spoke. That's literally what it was. They asked him about kind of where he was, and he talked about how he loves being in Miami, but living here, right? Everything was kind of underlined in regard to what Jimmy Butler said. Talked about he just wants to get the joy back in his game. They asked him if he could get it back here, and he said probably not. And that was kind of, I'll say it again, the nail in the coffin in regard to the time for Jimmy Butler in Miami. And obviously there were already some kind of waves that were going on with the trade rumors. And of course, our Phoenix Suns were a big part of that, as they were saying that he was one of those, this was one of the places that he kind of had pinpointed for where he might want to go. And I remember, I think the first news that came out from Shams Charania was that, Jimmy Butler wants out. Then his agent made a statement. Shams went on and said, I don't get shit wrong, folks. Like, this is what it is. And then everything has kind of escalated to the point where it is with Jimmy Butler. But guys, let's just talk about Jimmy Butler here in regard for the player that he is, right? This year, you already said it, Bradley Beal and Jimmy Butler have played the same amount of games, 22 games out of a possible, I think, 35, 36 games this season so far. Not bad stats, not his overall best. 17.6 points, 5.5 rebounds, 4.7 assists. Shooting probably the best he has over the past 4 seasons at 55% a game. I mean, man, but Jimmy's a stud, man. 6-time All-Star. At one point was the most improved player in the league. But here's the thing, guys. And the only thing that we're talking about in regard to Jimmy Butler is the possibility of him becoming a Phoenix Sun. Since 2017, 2018, Jimmy Butler has played over 60 games at one time.
Yikes.
So, I mean, does Jimmy Butler do different things than Bradley Beal does, who you would probably have to give up within a trade, as well as that 2031 first-round draft pick, which is the last one that you own for the foreseeable future at this point, for a guy who I think the same kind of things in regard to we can't stay healthy. Oh, okay, one guy goes out, he's coming back, somebody else goes down. Like, here's the truth of the matter of the fact, guys. 4 times this season, when a player of the big three, one of the big 3 players has been out, the game that they come back and all 3 of them play together, one of them gets hurt. 4 times.
Like clockwork, dude. Like, you can count on it.
So, I like Jimmy Butler's game. It would be a different wrinkle than obviously what Bradley Beal does, because I think he does too much of the similarities that Devin Booker does, more so kind of on the finesse end. And Jimmy Butler's a dog. He's a great defensive player still, but he also is 35 years old, and you're asking yourself basically to put yourself into the same situation of what we're going through right now, which is when these guys get healthy, can they get it done? Because when Jimmy Butler comes in, he's going to get hurt. One of those other guys are going to get hurt. Are you going to have all big 3 that you need in order to make a good playoff run? And the simple matter of the fact, once again, for this Phoenix Suns team with Kevin Durant, is this is the last year that they have a real feasible possibility to maybe win a championship, because Kevin Durant is going to be 37 years old next year. And it's just
crazy.
there's only so many LeBron James in the world. And I Kevin Durant has been playing at an all-star level this year. Obviously, he's second in all-star voting, I think for a reason, because he has proved it this year with his play. But you can only hold on to that for so long. And there's still so many different flaws with this Phoenix Suns team. But Jimmy Butler, guys, long story short, I'm not about it. I would think it would be a terrible move for the Phoenix Suns to make.
And that's I think the question I want to ask, and I'll speak on it, but I want to hear what Tallman has to say first. Is this hypothetical trading Jimmy Butler and getting rid of Bradley Beal in that deal, is that an upgrade for the Suns? Short term. Let's say just short term. Let's narrow view. Short term. This season, is that an upgrade for the Suns?
Yes. Would you? I think we all agree.
Yeah.
Because he's a different style of play, and we need a good defensive player, right? Bradley Beal doesn't play defense. Yeah. So I would say it's an upgrade, absolutely. And, I mean, you just said you wouldn't want to do it. I don't even think it's possible. I mean, and then you're going to have to roofie everybody in Miami to convince them to take Brad Beal.
Well, and you're going to have to do it to Brad Beal himself.
As well. Yeah. You have to take his hand while he's asleep and sign to waive the no trade clause. It's just not. It's not going to happen.
They're going to have to subliminally convince him. What's that? What do they call it? Where it's you Inception. So not Inception, but you basically plant a bunch of seeds to convince someone that it was their idea originally.
Yeah, but really,
that's Inception.
Yeah,
you got to go into their dreams.
Yeah. And you got to convince Brad Beal that he actually does want to be in Miami and that he doesn't want to be in Phoenix anymore.
I mean, it would be an upgrade, but it's even if you could add him, I mean, I saw a stat. It was of all the games he's played with the Heat, 1 in 4 game he's missed. I mean, you already mentioned how many times he's played over 60 games in a season, and it's not much. So it's okay, if you can get off Beal, you're bringing in another superstar. I'm putting up quotes or air quotes here for that, who's just injury prone like Bradley Beal, and Bradley Beal's only 32 years old, right? So not only are you bringing in another injury-prone guy, but hey, he's also 3 years older, man.
Yeah. And
then that would put even more pressure on the clock is ticking, right? The idea of hey, it's do or die at that moment. But again, it's just I don't know. I mean, if Ishbia could figure out a way to pull that off, I mean that'd be up there with some of the deals in Arizona sports history, I would say. But it's just it's not even feasible.
Damn. I like what you just said there, Mike. I don't know if you caught it. If Ishbia can make the deal. Not if James Jones, who is technically the general manager of the team.
I mean, come on.
It's not on him to make. I think that's the fundamental problem here, is Ishbia has been pulling a lot of the strings that has gotten us to this point. And I think I know that I've seen a lot of Suns fans have that discourse of, are we better now than we were 2 years ago when we had Mikal Bridges and we had Chris Paul and we had DeAndre Ayton? Are we better off now? I mean, talent-wise, I think so. I think getting rid of DeAndre Ayton was a net positive. I think not only from the detriment in the locker room that he was to the complete liability he was on the floor. His potential was sky high, but his execution and his effort was lacking. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question because I don't think obviously keeping Chris Paul I don't think was a feasible option. You wouldn't have Kevin Durant if you kept Mikal Bridges. And so it's that young versus old. Should we have tried to stay young and develop I get it. We were in a championship window, Devin Booker's prime. We threw all this at the wall. But going back to my main point is that Ishbia's pulling all these strings, getting us into the second apron. I mean, it's fucking awesome. He's willing to spend that money, something we didn't have with Sarver. But now that we've gotten so old and so thin, we have no options and we're handcuffed now basically for the next what seems like 10 years between not having draft picks and having to pay these guys out the ass. To go back to the Jimmy Butler potential trade, I don't think it's possible. I don't think Beal goes for it. I don't think Miami goes for it. I think Miami's going to come out with a big ask. They're going to want Booker or Durant, and the Suns are going to laugh in their face. I did see a report. I don't remember who it was reporting it, but that the Suns will engage in talks, and Miami, they will engage in talks, but nothing is for sure, and it's just talk, and there weren't any details released about that. But I also within that saw that Houston said they're not interested in Butler and Golden State said that they're not interested in Butler. So that kind of dwindles down the options. But from looking at the salary cap, and I did talk, I think on the last roundtable we did, me and Steven talked about this a little bit, is like the way the salaries are set up, like there's no way that you can keep all three of our big three and bring in Jimmy Butler. Like there's not any financial way that you can pull that off. So one of those three has to go, has to be Beal. Beal's not going to take it. But the positive, if for in a magical world where Beal says, yeah, I'll sign the no trade clause, send me wherever you want because I'm still getting paid. And he is, because he has guaranteed next year and then a player option the year after that. You know he's going to take that player option for $57 million. Jimmy Butler only has next season on his deal, and then he's an unrestricted free agent. So if you're looking at freeing up some finances a couple years down the road, Suns have every incentive to try and get Jimmy Butler, even if they don't think he's going to be on the field, on the court and available now.
So this is the only reason why I would make this trade, gentlemen. But that is where a lot of these things are getting probably hung up in regard to the talks, because wherever Jimmy Butler is traded to, you know how things work nowadays. If somebody kind of picks their team and they're a high-profile player, somehow the NBA figures out to get them there, right? Because they want their superstars happy and satisfied to a certain extent so they can play to the highest ability. That's what brings the eyeballs. That's what moves the needle. But if you can bring in Jimmy Butler and you somehow get Bradley Beal to waive that trade clause and you don't re-sign Jimmy Butler, you take a waiver, you see what you can get out of him for 35, 40 games this year, put yourself into a playoff position and see kind of where the chips may fall. And then next season you can try and rebuild under the apron, because that's been all the talks about that as well. If you trade Bradley Beal's contract, you don't re-sign Jimmy Butler to what he wants to be 3+ years, $100+ million. You find yourself back into working capital to sign some of these better free agents instead of having to take these flyer 1 year, 3, league minimum type deals for your Mason Plumlees of the world. And I know I'm not trying to dig at you, Chris. I'm sorry. It's just like it's a glowing factor in regard to Mason Plumlee has not been good.
No, he's not. I was high on him. There's a
lot of guys who just, that were brought in this year who haven't been difference makers either.
Well, it's the second year in a row that we've been bamboozled by having us be told, like, we have such great depth. All these signings are so awesome, where, no, it's not. It's the same as last year. It's dog shit.
Right. And, I mean, you drafted some nice pieces, Ryan Dunn and Oso Ighodaro, but the last thing that was truly probably needed to be put on their plate this year was what they're being asked of right now, is to pick up the slack for these old guys who have been brought in and can't contribute the way that they need to. They're too young for that. They're just not ready to take on those kind of roles. So I think, going back to Jimmy Butler, that's the only way if I'm the Phoenix Suns, I would think about making this trade, is if you have a conversation with Jimmy Butler and his agent and say, hey, come through here, for some reason, maybe you might be able to get your $100 million contracts on the open market. But that's why there's so many. Tallman's right. Like, there's no way that Jimmy Butler will get traded without getting the extension that he requests. And it just doesn't seem like a feasible act for the Phoenix Suns right now. So, man, it's
a fun idea.
It's fun, right? I mean, you guys remember when all the hoopla was going around about Kevin Durant? You know how excited we were. I mean, that was kind of right around the start of VSP, and we were talking this, that, and the other way, going around the circle about how KD could find himself here. And it happened.
Yep.
And if you really think about it, it has been fun. But it has still been disappointing because they have not lived up to the expectations that come with having a top 5 player in the league. So when these new rumors came about with Jimmy Butler possibly coming to the Suns, I think a lot of Suns fans latched onto it because they see the writing on the wall right now with this team, which is a team that, if they can even limp into the playoffs, will probably get swept again if it comes down to it in a 4-game series. But at this point, we just got to make the play-in to even try and make the playoffs. So so they're putting their eggs into the Jimmy Butler basket, and I can't get excited about that because I just see the same kind of thing with Bradley Beal. He will be hurt all the time. and it's a nowhere road right now.
No, you nailed it, man. Like, I think Suns fans in general are just extremely disappointed. A lot of them tuning out, not really interested in this team. There's nothing to be excited about with the Phoenix Suns right now. And so they want to change, and that's kind of what we've come to expect now in the last 2 years, is the constant change of this roster. And it's almost, Jesus, Russell, it's almost out of necessity that we are wanting that change, is because through this change we've only gotten older, and that's a problem, and this doesn't solve that issue at all. Would it be awesome to have a 25-5 guy, someone who can help rebound, play the 3 position, play defense? Yeah, that's awesome, but all these hypotheticals, I don't think it happens. And I kind of, part of me does kind of want to see the Suns not make any moves, because I think they just need to work on being a team, getting cohesion going, practicing together, and see what you can do with the pieces you have. Get healthy. Fucking get healthy, because if all 3 of these guys can even play 10 games together, I think that'll tell you everything you need to know and what this team is capable of. Because right now, this team ain't making it out of the first round, man. They might not even make it out of the wild card, or the play-in, or whatever the fuck it's called in basketball. It's ridiculous. Yeah, but that's really all I wanted to speak on with the Suns. I know I made a passing comment that Yusuf Nurkic is probably the worst center in the West. There's problems. There are really, really real problems with this team. Kevin Durant has a tendency to look tuned out at times. That's gone back to last season. Devin Booker is not himself. Every stat category is down. Not dramatically, but it's down. And he seems reluctant to be the superstar we need him to be at times. And I hope that changes, because some nights he is that dude. He'll drop 35, 40 points. But other nights he's putting up 18 and deferring a lot. It's just... That's all I got, man. I mean, Mike, you have anything you want to say about the Suns?
No, I mean, I am aligned with you where I don't think the Suns should make any drastic moves, at least right now, right? It's also, this is what we knew. It was going to be so hard to do anything with where they're positioned, with the second apron, having to match contracts, and bringing in people that are actually like decent caliber players to move a needle, and that's not what you can get for some of the guys that you need to get out of this room right now, specifically Yusuf Nurkic. But that's what we're resorted to. We just have to wait and see when they get healthy to see what happens, because I mean, to start the season, first 10 games they were relatively healthy, and what happened? They started 8-1, 8-2, so But I can't hold on to my hat thinking that that's going to happen once this team puts it all together. Because once again, I know it's semi-early in the season, but we're getting dangerously close to the halfway mark already. And the Suns have put themselves at a disadvantage with the inability to stay healthy and the inability to win some of these unexcusable matchups that they've dropped to teams like the Pistons, to teams like, I mean, good Lord, who am I thinking of recently? Did we play the Hornets yet? Did we lost to them? I mean, we could start thinking about that. Oh, the New Orleans Pelicans, who haven't won in 50 days except for the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah.
Like, it's tough. It's really tough, and it's a sour taste in your mouth to see where they were just a short number of years ago to where they are now, trying to find answers, because they've already done all these things like change the coach and all that kind of stuff. And at this point, it comes down to the players and figuring it out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think I don't know. It's hard. I want change. I want positive change. I just don't think there's any hope for that. And so what do? You got to buckle down and work with what you got. And these players have to step up.
See what happens.
It clearly wasn't Frank Vogel. It's not Mike Budenholzer. It is these players on the court. Tallman, I know you're a big basketball guy. Do you have any last?
Love it.
Mr. Minor 49er over here. You got any last thoughts on your Phoenix Suns?
Yeah, I hate Bradley Beal.
All
Amen.
my homies hate Bradley Beal.
Everybody hates Bradley Beal. That was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's sufficient.
Yeah,
that's sufficient.
Was that okay?
Yeah, that's good.
It's good.
So I think, perfect time for us to transition topics a little bit. that's really all that I think any of us wanted to talk about with the Suns. But the next topic, the Arizona Diamondbacks making some moves here in the offseason. They, like I mentioned, made a trade with the Cleveland Guardians for first baseman Josh Naylor. We gave up Slade Ciccone and I think some other prospects in that deal. Also, the big news coming out in the last week, the signing of pitcher Corbin Burns.
Oh, yeah.
$210 million over 6 years. $64 million of that is deferred until 2030 something. $10 million signing bonus, and important to note that deferred money comes with no interest, which is great for the organization. Still good for Corbin Burns because that's $64 million in his bank account. Definitely a fantastic move for the Arizona Diamondbacks. I think I know the answer to this, but Mike, which move are you most excited about for next season?
Gentlemen, come on. You know it has to be Corbin Burns. Come on. Straight out of left field, too, right?
I did not ever see that coming.
I was sitting on my couch watching, just some random NBA game, and then all of a sudden, Nico, VSP Neeks, hits me up with the Twitter shout out about him signing, and then I did a deep dive and started to look at what happened here. And it sounded like Corbin Burns was offered more money from the Blue Jays and the Giants, but he chose Arizona.
Let's go.
Because, what is it? There is a
The
more
weather.
favorable tax rate here in Arizona. Man, isn't that incredible? So, hey, if you're a high-profile athlete and you're listening to us here on VSP, come to Arizona. We won't take all your money. But, man,
We'll take some of it.
We'll take some of it. But you think about it. I mean, Corbin Burns has been a stud. He was the 2021 NL Cy Young when he was with the Brewers. He's 4 straight All-Stars. Last season, he was with the Baltimore Orioles. Had a decent season if you really think about it. 15-9, 2.92 ERA in almost 200 innings with 181 Ks. But let's talk about Corbin Burns a little bit as a pitcher, right? His walk rate has gone from good to borderline great since 2018. He really pitches on contact management. That's where he has been really stellar over the past couple of years. And his K rate has gone down from about 36% to 23%. But when you're working on contact and putting your team in the best position for, if you need a double play ball, he is just a pinpoint master. And I know it's probably going to be a discussion, but I think he moves into the number 1 slot in this lineup right away. So, what a way to start a weekend, I think. Well, I don't know if it was on the weekend, but what a way to start the next day, just to kind of sit and look at where these Arizona Diamondbacks are starting to position themselves for 2025, which is just amazing to see.
Yeah, I honestly didn't expect a move to be made on the pitching side. I really expected them to go out and get a bat, someone to replace some of these guys we lost. And I think that in some ways they did that with the Naylor deal. Of course, we've talked about it a couple times on streams already, but here on the Heat Check podcast, Christian Walker was given the qualifying offer from the Diamondbacks, decided to ultimately decline that offer and took a 3-year deal with Houston worth, $60 million over 3 years?
Yeah.
So it's pretty clear to me in that instance that the D-backs didn't want him for more than 2 years, and a lot of other teams didn't want to give him more than 2 years also. He was looking for 4, got 3. That closes the door on Christian Walker. We're moving on. So after that happened, the Josh Naylor deal was a little bit of a Band-Aid on that. He's a big bat. Not a quick base runner, maybe not the savviest defense. He's not going to replace what Christian Walker did defensively, but a serviceable first baseman and a bat we can rely on. But nothing to really get D-backs fans jumping up and down, especially after losing your all-star Gold Glove first baseman. But shortly thereafter, within a few days, I feel like it was, you get this Corbin Burns news, and that's huge because last season we thought we made some moves for pitchers. We got Eduardo Rodriguez and Jordan Montgomery. Now, we didn't want Jordan Montgomery back, but he had that player option, so he's back. Where do you put Montgomery? I want to get into that, but I mean, Tallman, for you to have a chance to speak on this Corbin Burns move, what are your thoughts?
I am ecstatic, and it's, man, God bless this World Series run, because it just, I don't know what happened. It woke up the owner. I mean, this is such a surprise move. This is not something that we're used to over the last several years of us being fans of the Diamondbacks, right? I got the update just like you. You said you're watching a game. I was driving and I had to like double take. I couldn't believe it. I mean, it's incredible. And I love that they're taking a page out of the Dodgers book and deferring some of the
Hell
money.
yes, let's go.
So that we can be somewhat competitive because I still think Major League Baseball needs to get a salary cap, but that's probably never going to happen. But I mean, he's probably the best pitcher that was available that you could possibly sign. So it also makes you remember that, I mean, we have such a good young core of a team where we're enticing to these big free agents.
Yeah.
Because he could have gone probably anywhere, right? But he looked and saw Arizona and said, this is where I want to be. That's a team I'd want to play with because we have a real shot of being really competitive. So I was, like I said, ecstatic. It was a great, awesome signing. And then the Naylor, I barely know her. My bad.
Boo this man.
Boo.
That wasn't good. He does fill a huge void. I mean, there's still stuff we got to do. Because right now, if you go look up the projected lineup for the Dbacks, guess who our designated hitter is? It's Pavin Smith. So
Good old Pavin.
So we still need to add a right-handed bat. We still need to complement the bullpen, but making a move right away to fill that void of not bringing Christian Walker back and still getting that big bat in the middle of the lineup, because Naylor can, look up a picture of him. The boy's got he's got some meat on him. He's got some power. So that's huge. That's exactly what we needed to replace with Walker leaving. Granted, yeah, he's not going to be a Gold Glover like year in and year out like Walker, but that was incredible too, to see that we get a reputable player to come in and replace, our should have been all-star first baseman last season. But I don't know. What I love is I have another thing to be really excited about this baseball team again.
Yeah.
Because last year it was like, I can't wait for baseball season to start. And then we collapsed at the end of the season. We missed the playoffs when we scored the most runs in MLB, and the fact that we didn't make the playoffs, it was just an absolute disappointment. So I'm sitting there, I was upset for several weeks, right? And then I'm like, okay, well, what are we going to do next year? What's going to be different?
Yep.
And then this right here, it jolts you up. It gets you so stoked for this next season.
Right, and it's going back to what you said earlier, it's something we haven't really seen from this Diamondbacks organization historically. I mean, obviously the Colangelo era when we first got started, they made that, go out, get the win now team, and we did that and we won the World Series. But since then, there haven't really been any big signings or moves that we've made that have moved the needle like that. I know there have been some attempts. Obviously, we got Greinke, we got Bumgarner at the end of his career. But if I'm not mistaken, Tallman, this is the most they've ever paid a player to wear a Diamondbacks uniform. Is that correct?
I believe it is. I think you're right.
I think it's the largest contract, at least. Maybe not by year, but the largest
dollar amount.
And I think I'm right there with you. When I saw that notification, when I saw $210 million, I was like, Diamondbacks.
Damn.
Backing up the Brinks truck.
Yeah, no, it's great. And so let's go through our starting pitchers we have right now.
Read my mind.
So Corbin Burns, right? 1. Zach Gallen.
1A or 1B.
Yeah, right. Which we probably only have Zach for. He's not going to get a long-term extension, or the Diamondbacks aren't going to sign him. They can't afford him. He's going to be gone here soon, but we have him.
We do
for the season coming up. So you got Gallen, you got Kelly, you got Brandon Pfaadt, you got Eduardo Rodriguez, and then you cannot forget what Ryan Nelson did.
Yes,
he was one of the best pitchers on this team the last couple months of the season. And then, of course, you have Jordan Montgomery, who, if you're a Diamondbacks fan, you are just absolutely praying. We all know he picked up the player option. He's coming back for $25 million.
Yep.
He's going to start in the bullpen. He's going to be a middle reliever like we saw him use him last season. And then, of course, if we have a starting pitcher that goes out early, gets banged, gets smashed, he's only makes it 2 innings, you're going to see Montgomery come in and do that extended relief. But I mean, before I mention Montgomery, that's 6 quality starters we have right here. Guys, I don't know if we're going to start the season with all 6 of those guys on the roster.
Ooh.
So come on. You don't sit there. You don't sit there and not start all those. You can't get rid of Rodriguez.
You can't get rid of Montgomery either.
No one's going to take Montgomery.
And you can't cut him because you just eat that money. And
it's either Kelly, Fott, could it be Gallen, or it's Nelson. I don't know. I'm thinking we have.
Wait, you're asking if Gallen could be the odd man out?
No, I'm saying who are they going to trade?
Trade. Who
are they going to trade?
I mean, that it almost kind of makes sense what you're asking here, because even before the Corbin Burns move, there were a lot of rumors about the D-backs moving Zach Gallen this offseason. Yeah. And I scoffed at that and said that's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard of. But now that we have Corbin Burns, I'm not saying I necessarily want it to happen, but it makes more sense, especially if you can achieve a goal of getting a bigger bat and someone who's going to be able to produce on the offensive side and ride with the guys you have. I do think that's an interesting, Actually, before I make my next point, Mike, do you have any thoughts on moving Zach Gallen?
Ooh, you want to get into it?
I need to know what Mike
wants. It's not a popular topic.
What are you talking about? I love this topic. I still think that Zach Gallen is a number one guy. He's an opening day starter. Corbin Burns has just proved to eke him out, really, if you think about it. You can talk about stat-wise as well. I mean, from past 4 years on, last season as well, we talked about Corbin Burns 15-9. Zach Gallen was 14-6. His ERA was 3.65, 156 Ks, 1.26 WHIP. He has a career ERA of 3.29. Corbin Burns has a 3.19 career ERA. Are they comparable pitchers? I think they both do a little bit of different things. But yeah, you have to get within the weeds of what does it look like contract-wise. And the Diamondbacks kind of showed their hands as they committed to Corbin Burns for the next 6 years. Zach Gallen could definitely and probably will on the open market command similar type of money. And that something that the Arizona Diamondbacks, not only can they do it, but are they willing to do that? The beautiful thing about this front office, if you truly think about it now, is they're willing to pay and go for it, right? But you still have to work within your metrics and what is going to really work for your organization. And 100%. I don't know if keeping Zach Gallen is really something that's in the books now after this decision that has been made to bring in Corbin Burns. So if you can go out, make a move, get some really heavy hands in that bullpen, start filling out some other back-end positions, get some utility guys, maybe a DH, because he's going to command a lot, you can look into doing that. But I will say, this will be my last point. If I'm trying to move anybody, guys, it's Merrill Kelly.
And
he's too old, though. No one's going to give up pieces.
No, I'm glad Mike said that, because that was before I asked Mike what he thought about the Zach Gallen trade. And last thing I'll say on that is, if we do move Zach Gallen, it has to happen before the season starts. I don't move Zach Gallen mid-season.
Yes.
So hopefully they can make it work. If not, ride it out. Have this awesome pitching staff. For me, Merrill Kelly's the odd guy out. He's 36 years old, missed a lot of games last year, has cramping issues, can't finish starts. As far as I know, Chase Field's not getting any cooler.
You think it's going to get better this year? No.
Baseball's played in the summer.
Hey, they're fixing the roof.
If, God forbid, he has to pitch in Florida when they're playing in a AAA ballpark outdoors this season.
That's a true story, man.
Right.
I don't even know how that's legal. I think we're going to see someone die on the field. That's an exaggeration. That's not going to happen. But I think Kelly's the odd guy out. And because when you look at this, I mean, you're right. Who still has AAA options? Probably Fott, probably Nelson. You can't send Montgomery to AAA. You can't send Rodriguez or Kelly or Gallen. You can't send any of those guys to AAA. Not that you would send Gallen to AAA, but I think the way Fott kind of stumbled through last season, for me, he'd probably be the obvious choice if you were to keep Kelly. But I do think that we need to move on from Kelly, but I agree with you, Tallman. I don't think there's any trade market for him.
No, and then you're not. So Fott he struggled a bit, but he showed you through that World Series run and then glimpses last season where he is one of your better pitchers, and he's young, and he's got a lot of team control, just like Ryan Nelson. Ryan Nelson comes in. The guy throws a fucking 99-mile-per-hour fastball consistently, and he, like I said already, the past month and a half of the season, he was our best pitcher. And he's young, doesn't cost a lot of money, has a lot of team control. So those two guys, I mean, if obviously because of those reasons I just mentioned, those are going to be the two guys that teams want to trade for the most, right?
Yeah.
They're going to want those young guys that have the team control, that don't cost a lot of money, and they're good, So it's, I mean, I don't see a scenario where Ryan Nelson is not in the starting 5 rotation.
Well, and let me.
I mean, I might be completely wrong, right?
Yeah.
We might start the season. I mean, because the whole thing with Zach Gallen, we could probably do without Zach Gallen if we can flip him, get something in return rather than letting him leave and only get some compensatory pick or some shit.
Right.
So I don't know. What's cool is we have this problem and we're able to have this discussion because we have our starting rotation is so top. Our pitching rotation is so heavy.
Yeah.
We have a lot of options, and we got potentially a lot of good pitchers. And then imagine if Jordan Montgomery figures it out because he wants to revive his career and he wants a long-term contract.
Yep.
He's going to be he's going to be fucking working his ass off and trying to flip it around because we all hate Jordan Montgomery. I'm sure he hates what he did last season more than we hate what he did last season.
Yeah.
So it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I love, kind of inverse of the Suns in a lot of ways. This pitching rotation, Merrill Kelly being the outlier, their average age is about 30. If you add Merrill Kelly in, it's about 31, 32.
Fucking Merrill.
I'm saying, because that's like, he's 36 years old. He hasn't been around a long time because he played in Korea for a long time.
He's a late bloomer.
He's dragging down the boat.
He is, late bloomer, whatever. We had a great season from him in the World Series run. Bit of a step back last season. I'm sure a lot of that had to do with him missing time.
Well, can I jump in real quick?
Please,
on the age thing too? I think that's one of the things that the Diamondbacks are really diving into as well, right?
The youth movement.
The
right?
youth movement, man. Our favorite signing is Corbin Burns, right? He's only 30 years old. We've seen pitchers who have pitched until their 40s. Like he still should have a good amount of years under him, right? But also, I got to go back to Josh Naylor. You don't get Christian Walker, but they make the adjustments right away, and you get 6 years younger at the position for somebody who has proven themselves to be a good player in the majors.
Just gain some weight at the position.
What? Last year, 31 home runs, 108 RBIs. I think he hit around 243, so not the great average, but he's a big bat. And that's what you need to fill in for what you lose from Christian Walker. And you get younger at that position. Because you know what being younger, too, means? If it doesn't work out, it's still a tradable asset, especially if Josh Naylor drops a couple of LBs too. So, that's my favorite thing too about what the Diamondbacks are doing with this youth movement as well. They have so many young core pieces and they're buying into it.
Yep. And we forget about even the young pieces that we really haven't seen take the field that could be tradable pieces as well. I'm talking about Jordan Lawler, Drew Jones.
He's projected to be on the 25.
On the 25 roster, wow. So backing up Perdomo, maybe playing some second base.
Coming off the bench,
Coming off the bench. I'm okay with that. I think it's time. We need to see what Jordan Lawler's capable of.
Because we lost Ahmed, or excuse me.
Well, yeah, we lost.
We definitely lost Ahmed.
We lost Nick Ahmed, yeah.
Why am
Newman?
Newman.
Kevin Newman?
That's right.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, so it's time to see what Lawler can do. He was injured last year and didn't make the September call-ups, right? But we did see him in 2023.
Yeah.
And he had a few good at-bats, but overall wasn't quite what we were hoping for. But it's fine. Young guy getting his first look. Not everyone can be Corbin Carroll coming up in September call-ups, smashing home runs and getting triples and all that. But just to kind of, scatterbrain here, going back to what you said about Josh Naylor, Mike, you're absolutely right. You bring in that big bat, and it's okay that he's a bit husky because he has that big bat. So
husky.
We get I was going to say chunky, but I decided to go with husky.
I'm really glad he used husky.
Probably a better call there.
Yeah.
Can't be getting on Josh Naylor's bad side too early.
Yeah, he's going to come and nail you.
But no, we have plenty of speedy guys that are going to be in the front of that rotation that will be able to get on base, like a la Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte, maybe Jake McCarthy. Yeah.
Alec Thomas.
If he's playing. And then you get Josh Naylor to hit a deep single or a double or God forbid, a home run, and you get some runs across the board, and that's what it's all about. It's not always expecting him to go up there and smash a home run. It's expecting him to go out there and put the ball in play and drive home runs. Drive in runs. Yeah.
Well, no, you said it right. It still counts.
I mean, yeah. Just to
drive
not
home runs.
Just to not cause
drive
the way
home
you phrase.
Yeah, drive
home runs.
Home
Drive
space
home.
runs.
Drive the homes.
Runs.
Or
Yeah.
the homes. Drive the runs home.
So, and hey, maybe Josh Naylor, as long as he doesn't eat too many tacos, maybe the heat of the summer will...
Okay, we're getting off on a bad foot with our guy Josh Naylor. He just put his foot into the door.
No one show him In-N-Out Burger.
Do anyone know where Naylor is from originally?
I'll find out.
That's a great question.
Because
I said that 'cause he's
obviously
coming from-
he played in Cleveland. I think he might have played elsewhere before the Guardians. Because he was playing with his brother, Bo Naylor, right?
Yeah, that's right.
They were both on the Guardians last season, which, I mean, that's pretty cool. You get to play with your brother.
He's Canadian.
He's Canadian. Oh, well.
So, yeah, don't...
Went a little bit down on my...
He started with San Diego.
San Diego. Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, honestly, overall with the D-backs...
Ontario,
Quebec, Canada. Gotcha.
Well, I don't want to try to pronounce this word.
What do you got?
Mississauga. Yeah, I said
Yeah,
that right?
sure. Yeah.
Mississauga.
They call it the Mississippi of Canada.
There you go.
Okay. Yep. It's Latin for missing you a long time. I'm sorry.
That's a good try.
Yeah, I'm doing the best I can. But yeah, no, D-backs, I think I am excited. I think I was a little down after the Walker news, but not shocked by it. Brought me a little bit up with the Naylor trade, back to being level-headed. And then the Corbin Burns move now has me being overly optimistic again. So I'm sure I'll come back down to earth over the next few weeks. And hopefully, in the next couple months before we get into spring training, we'll see what other moves get made. I'm not going to say hopefully Gallen gets traded, but if he does, I hope we get someone good in return and a big bat and a contributor on the offensive side. But that is all I have for the D-backs, fellas. You got anything else you'd like to add? No? All right, so then let's move on and finish out with our very last topic of the podcast, not the stream, in the Arizona Cardinals. Yes, your Arizona Cardinals, but I mentioned it at the top of the show. We're not going to talk about what's happening right now. We're not going to talk about Week 18 and missing the playoffs. We're going to do that. We did that, actually, on Tuesday. That's going to be on YouTube. We did our postseason recap, postmortem of the Arizona Cardinals 2024-2025 campaign. And yeah, it is up on YouTube and all podcast streaming services for you to go listen to. We broke it all down. So here on the Heat Check podcast, we're going to give our way too early offseason hopes and predictions for what we think the Cardinals are going to do in the offseason, what we think they should do in the offseason, and what I think they should do and probably won't do. But guys, I think I want to start off, and we can kind of bounce around, and this can kind of, a lot of moving parts in the offseason. But I think the ever-pressing question, we've talked about it a lot, but I want to get an update, see where you guys are at. Tallman, we'll start with you. Kyler Murray, what do they do with him?
Oh, man. Yep. This is this is the hot topic. This is every Cardinals fan's favorite topic.
Are you getting sick of talking about it?
I kind of am. Yeah.
Me too. I'm right there.
I mean,
you.
it's like he's in the season for 6 years, man. It's I don't know, but when we did the last stream, Mike nailed it perfectly. This guy, he is the most divisive athlete in Arizona right now. I would say Arizona sports by far. You got the people that have backed him since day one, and then you have the people that absolutely hate him and think he's too short and he can't see the middle of the field, and the Cardinals need to move on from him. So at this point, it's which team are you playing for? Which side of this argument are you on? And after just the complete collapse coming out of the bye week again, how this team and this quarterback cannot finish the season, I'm starting to lean towards the side of that argument that maybe it's time to look at a change at quarterback, because we all know quarterback's the most important position in football. Yeah, it's a team sport. There's 11 players on the team, but it all starts with the quarterback. So with Kyler Murray, though, it's the one thing that is the most damning for this team, if you want to get off of him, is the money that's guaranteed to him, what you paid him, his contract. So, and then also, say we get rid of Kyler, I mean, this is one of the worst draft classes for quarterbacks coming up. So you're not moving up to draft any of those top guys. They're not even normally top guys. You're not going to find a replacement or a franchise quarterback in the draft. You look at the free agents. The top one is going to be Sam Darnold. That dude's getting paid. Minnesota's not letting him walk. What else do you do? That's the question. There's nothing else to do. Your best option right now is Kyler Murray. So, and then also looking at his contract next year, kind of the cap hit, where next year he's probably going to be the Cardinals' starting quarterback. But for the sake of the fan base, for the sake of just this team staying competitive, we got to bring in a veteran. We got to draft a quarterback. We got to do some type of quarterback. Not battle. Maybe let's call it a battle. We need to put some pressure on him because he's going to be going into his 7th season. And normally for football teams, it doesn't take 6 seasons to figure out if a guy is your franchise quarterback or not. It's either can he win you enough games to get you to the playoffs to give you a chance to win a Super Bowl, or he can't. And what does he prove to us? He can't. He can't do that. So it's if I was betting on it, he's going to be on the Cardinals next year. And that's going to be it. But they need to make it interesting. They got to do something. They can't just say, oh, Kyler, it's your team. Blah, blah, blah. Keep making your YouTube videos and how you prep for the football games and this and that. Let's put some pressure on the kid. Let's say, hey, yeah, we know we paid you a lot of money, but this is the NFL. Yeah. We'll pay you money and we'll kick your ass to the curb after next season, or we'll sit you on the bench and still pay you $40 million because we'll start this other kid who is outworking you, who's outperforming you. So he needs some pressure. He needs to get pulled out of his comfort zone because what's happening right now, it's not working. It's not working.
No, and you've said it, Tallman. Like the old saying, what's the definition of insanity? It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Yep.
This Cardinals team can't keep rolling Kyler Murray out there and expecting him to be the savior on offense. He's reached his ceiling. In my opinion, he is as good as he's ever going to be. And unfortunately, that's not good enough to win championships. It's good enough to make flashy plays, have some highlights on SportsCenter, but Kyler Murray is just not that dude. And it sucks because I wanted him to be. Like, I know I've been really negative on Kyler Murray, but I always did want him to be successful and be that star. But everything that we have criticized him for, just play-wise, not even the off-the-field stuff, but his play, it's his inability to see over the goddamn offensive line and make passes downfield. And when you expect him to be a passing quarterback and not solely rely on his feet, he's nothing. He's virtually nothing as a passer, and that sucks. And that really sucks for me to say, but I agree, Tallman. Fully expect him to be back in a Cardinals uniform next year. I did see, I don't know if it was like an official report, but I saw someone on the internets saying that the Cardinals intend to bring in a veteran quarterback to compete with Kyler Murray for that starting job. But we've looked at it, guys. There's not really anyone out there that you can just sign to actually be someone to expect to compete with Kyler Murray. Cooper Rush isn't going to compete with Kyler Murray for the starting job. I'm sorry, he just isn't.
Could you imagine?
I'm going to ask a question, Tallman, but first, Mike, I want you to speak on the Kyler Murray. What do they do with him?
Oh, we're talking about this again? Oh, my God.
Until he's no longer a Cardinal.
Until the cows come home. Yeah. Gentlemen, what's the tail of the tape? What is it? 13-32 in November, December, and January? Kyler Murray does not get it done when it matters. That's just the truth of the matter of the fact. We're not trying to give him a grace period anymore. We're looking at the facts. 6 years in, this is who Kyler Murray is. But I'm with you guys, and I'm going back to what I talked about before this season started again. The options are bleak. I'm not willing to hand over a starting quarterback position to a rookie quarterback next year in the 3rd year of the rebuild with all of the hopeful weapons that Monty Ossenfort in this front office is going to add with their $90+ million in cap space. A lot of good draft capital once again. You're not picking as early as you were, obviously, last year because, hopefully we're looking at doubling our wins from last season. But you can't say, Kyler Murray, this is your team anymore. I'm with you guys. It's sure, go out and earn it. Bring in a veteran quarterback, somebody who has at least got a couple starts under their belt within the league.
Yeah.
See if they can compete to get the position. and then you roll into next year with Kyler Murray. But it's going to be so hard, and we're going to have to try and temper our expectations next year. If he does start hot and he has 12 touchdowns in 4 games or 5 games, it's like, hold the phone, guys. Let's wait till we get until at least the bye week and see what kind of quarterback Kyler Murray is. I will give him a positive this season, though. He played every game. Yeah. You know, that was something that he hasn't done in his entire career. So he proved that he does have longevity throughout a season. I will say, though, the things that made him a differentiator at the quarterback position in regard to his feet seem like they have been taken away from him. And I don't know if it's just from the scheme or if the knee injury has really set him back from being that kind of a guy. Because he can't get it doesn't seem, I don't know about you guys, but this entire year, it doesn't seem like he can really get the edge on guys on a consistent basis.
He looks slower.
Yes, he has his great run against the San Francisco 49ers where he's pointing to the fans. Same thing, was it the Jets game as well?
Yeah, like a game.
Or no, the Chargers game on Monday Night Football. Yeah. But too often did it seem like Kyler Murray was really, really running as hard as he could to get the edge, and he couldn't do it. So, yeah, I'm still in the camp. Kyler Murray is going to be the starting quarterback next year. You're going to hopefully reload the offensive weapons around him. And when I talk about offensive weapons, I'm talking about offensive linemen. The defense gets a little bit better. You see what you can do from there. But that's it. Next year is you get it done. You get a playoff win or you're out.
Yeah. No, because I think like you make a great point. With our offensive weapons, when you think traditionally of weapons, you're thinking wide receivers, tight ends, running backs. We have that. I mean, we have serviceable guys at that position. I mean, Tallman, you can poo-poo that, but look at what Josh Allen is doing with the Bills. Who do the Bills have that move the needle offensively?
Amari Cooper. James Cook.
Not on a consistent
Not
basis.
Consistently, though. I mean, Amari Cooper is not who Amari Cooper was 5 years ago.
Yeah, they have that Shakir guy.
Khalil Shakir has been okay. They got Chase Claypool, apparently. He doesn't see
apparently.
the field. But there's no...
Keon Coleman. They're rookies.
Yeah, Keon Coleman.
Keon
He's
nice.
good. They have 2 big tight ends, Knox and
Dalton.
what's the other kid?
Dalton?
Kincaid, yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess fair enough, but I mean,
sorry, I didn't mean.
No, you're good. But when you compare that to Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, James Conner, like
not what was touted to us before this season, right?
Right. Yeah. No, like from based off what we've seen throughout this season, right?
That too.
Because I know some of us, Tallman, didn't want to give Michael Wilson credit as being a serviceable wide receiver. He's proven that he's a good second, third option. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a rookie. We had to temper our expectations. I think a lot of Cardinals fans had really high expectations, really high hopes for him. He's gonna take a step forward next season. So obviously you don't have to worry about Marv. He's still gonna be your wide receiver 1. Zay Jones, not really a factor.
Should we do it? Hold on.
You had to bring that up.
All right.
You should have said Greg Dortch first.
We mentioned this on the recap as well because we had to go over the final tally. But Mike, what are we at? What are we standing at?
Okay. Michael Wilson, third leading receiver on the team with 47 catches.
47?
548 yards, 4 touchdowns.
Wow.
Not too bad. Where do I go? Oh, hold on. I got to go down here. Let's go down. Okay.
No, he got suspended. It threw him
Zay
off
Jones,
his game, okay?
4 catches, 38 yards, 0 touchdowns.
It's not his fault.
So even if I did the yards bet, I would have whooped that behind.
Yeah. You could have done receptions plus yardage.
I still don't think it was a fair bet, but
bet was made before the news, but hey, we learned FanDuel doesn't care if a player gets injured in the first 5 minutes of a game. You're still going to lose your bet if you bet for him to get 50 yards. So, I mean, them's the breaks, Tallman.
He got suspended.
He did. All right.
Even if he didn't get suspended, I probably wouldn't have won.
You're right, because Michael Wilson is the number 2 receiver.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But yeah, to kind of bring this back and round out the Kyler Murray topic, I think, Mike, what you were kind of saying there is we all thought it was a Cliff Kingsbury late season collapse and his inability to coach. But now are you saying that maybe the whole time it was a Kyler Murray collapse?
Could be. Honestly, could be. I mean, there's limitations to Kyler Murray. Ladies and gentlemen of the Arizona Cardinals fan base, we know this because we've seen it for 6 years.
Yeah.
There's a limitation to what Kyler Murray can do. So you have to scheme around him. And unfortunately, especially after the bye, Drew Petzing has not done a good job of doing that on a consistent basis. So you find yourself 1-5, 1-6, 2-6, whatever. We're recording this early, so we don't know what happens at week 18.
Correct.
But, it's a far cry of where this team should have been and how this offense was positioned to take leaps and bounds. At some points they did. James Conner had a hell of a year once again, and he stayed relatively healthy until the last 2 weeks of this year, right? That was something that we told ourselves if we wanted to be a competitive team to make a playoff push, James Conner was going to have to be kind of that bell cow guy to carry the offense, to set up the offensive sets, right?
Yeah.
We were hoping to get more from Marvin Harrison Jr., but I think this goes back to the Kyler Murray, conversation. 57 catches, 822 yards, and 7 touchdowns before week 18 is honestly not that bad for a rookie year. But 57 catches on 110 targets,
Bad.
that means basically 1 out of 2 times they are not on the same page. And that's how it was this entire season.
And that goes back to, just real quick, that goes back to what you mentioned of Kyler Murray played every single game. It wasn't, you can't say like, oh, Josh Dobbs was throwing, oh, Clayton Tune was throwing to him. No, Kyler threw all those passes to him.
Yeah, and we saw flashes in the pan. If you talk about, the first the 2 Rams games, if you really think about it, the game against Miami. But other than that, how many times were you looking at the screen on a play call where Kyler Murray is sailing a ball because Marvin Harrison Jr. is running the wrong route, or they're not on the same page? A ball is behind. A back shoulder fade isn't put in a position where Marvin Harrison can make a catch.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's a two-way street, right? Marvin Harrison Jr. is still a rookie, even though he was touted to be a generational talent. But at the same time, this is the key factor when it comes down to Kyler Murray, guys, which we have never got from him. Kyler Murray does not elevate anyone.
Sadly, no.
He does not take anyone and elevate them to greatness. When we brought in D-Hop was great, and D-Hop made Kyler Murray great. It wasn't the other way around. That's just the matter of fact. And 6 years in, he has failed, and he has failed spectacularly, especially this season, when it was almost handed to him on a silver platter to go and win the NFC West.
Yeah, they were like, that is a time when they should have looked inward, buckled down, and really made a push. And I'm sure they did. I'm sure they had those conversations of, you got to be present in the moment and take it one game at a time. But recognizing the position they were in a down year for the NFC West, a very banged up 49ers team, like, absolutely, Mike. They should have, if Kyler Murray is what we had hoped for him to be, he should have been able to elevate that team and into a playoff push and a playoff berth, and it didn't happen. And it is funny how you mentioned DeAndre Hopkins. You're absolutely right. He was already great, and he's still doing good with the Chiefs, and he did not very much with the Titans, but that's neither here nor there because Patrick Mahomes is already great, so they're just elevating him. But I think DeAndre Hopkins was able to mask a lot of Kyler Murray's sometimes not as good throws by being able to make grabs that a lot of guys couldn't. Whereas I think Marvin Harrison Jr. will be able to do that eventually, but he's a rookie, first year in the NFL. I just think at the end of the day, it's tough because there's not any real, end of this road with Kyler Murray, and there's no other options. And within that, this isn't Jonathan Gannon's quarterback. This isn't Monty Austin-Ford's quarterback. He's stuck with this contract that they signed literally right before, and I don't know, man. I just think I'm not envious of Monty Austin-Ford and the decisions he's going to have to make and the phone calls that he's going to have to make. We're going to talk about Kyler Murray again. I know we will, and maybe on this stream, but in the spirit of moving forward, continuing our hopes and predictions, as of today on Tankathon, Cardinals are projected to have the 14th pick, and I'm sure that's subject to change based on how games go tomorrow. But they have us taking an edge rusher, James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee. Pretty early to be doing draft mocks. Probably won't get James Pierce Jr. But positionally, edge rusher in the first round, is that something you guys think they should target?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, all right. I asked you earlier, Mike. Who leads the team in sacks?
The West Virginia kid, 6th round pick, Dante Stills, baby.
Yeah, man.
I mean,
But how many sacks? 4.5.
4.5.
Oh,
So
okay.
this is a huge weakness for this team. I mean, you got to find a difference maker. And we were hoping maybe Darius Robinson would be that guy, but I mean, we all know how his season went. And go back and watch our stream that happened on Tuesday, and I'm sure we're gonna pick that one apart. There's no doubt about it. The number one glaring need for this team is a pass rusher, and that's exactly where they should go with that first pick.
Yeah, and I guess within that, I kind of wrote here, like, Mike, which side of the ball do you think needs more attention? Because obviously, if they're considering an edge rusher in the first round, you'd think defense. But going into this season, we thought we'd be more worried about the defense than the offense, and it kind of flipped itself. And the defense overachieved at times and kept us in games that we, might not have been in otherwise. Because we expected Kyler to we expected a lot of shootouts, and we didn't get that. So back to the question, which side of the ball do you think needs more attention in the offseason?
To be honest with you, Chris, I still think it's the defensive end because, I love what Nick Rallis has been doing as the defensive coordinator. He's been, really taking the best qualities out of these guys and putting him in successful positions. I think Zaven Collins has underperformed as a first-round pick, but has found his position basically kind of the same way that we were hoping for Hassan Reddick.
Right.
So, and you re-signed him last year, so you got another chance to see what he can do on coming off the edge. But yeah, I know we were talking about, what's our off-season wish list. You got to get multiple pass rushers into this room next year. You almost have to flood it.
Yeah.
And you got to cut bait on some of these guys who become fan favorites. Like Dennis Gardeck should not be on this team next year.
Probably not.
He should not be on this team next year. There's other guys like Victor Dumakaji. No. Somebody who's played a decent amount of snaps this year. We're done. It's time to bring in new blood. Baron Browning. Has he shown some promise?
Did he
sure.
get one sack?
But he's a guy who can be a rotational player. I don't want him playing more than 10 snaps a game. He can't be your starting edge rusher. That's where it comes down to. I think that's the biggest deficiency on this team still, not being able to pressure the quarterback, especially mobile quarterbacks. And that's who you're going to have to go up against when it comes down to the playoffs most of the time. But, there's still positives. Obviously, I liked what Dadrian Taylor Demerson did, as a young safety.
Rabbit.
You still have Jalen Thompson. you re-signed Budda Baker. You got a core secondary that is young but has shown a lot of promise in Garrett Williams and Max Melton. But the far cry from what was last season's biggest glaring weakness and to not address it, for you to not go all in very heavy this offseason for it is going to be unacceptable. So that's why I think you gotta put in multiple draft capital into edge rushers. And this is my big wish list item, gentlemen. I want to see a big time trade for a bona fide pass rusher. Now, you're going back to the Steve Keim eras, right? And when I think about, if you're going to do it, there's capital that comes from it. I get it. But I'm not talking about trading for Hollywood Brown with a first-round pick who was barely a number one wide receiver. I'm talking about trading for a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, who was arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL at the time he was traded for. That's the kind of move that I'm hoping the Arizona Cardinals will make. And I'm hoping that they will do it for an edge rusher. Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett. Screw it. The frickin' Raiders guy. Who cares?
Max Crosby?
I'm
Crosby?
trying.
I don't know.
I'm just saying, that's the kind of move. If this team wants to go for it next year in year 3 of the rebuild after failing the way that they did this year, that's the kind of move that's going to give me the optimism that this team is ready to win right now.
Well said. Tallman, same question.
Yeah. Man, I would love to see that, but there's a reason why pass rushers get paid the most behind quarterbacks, because there's not a lot of good guys that can do it. So to think we can pry one of those big guys away from that one of those teams, man, you'd have to sell the farm. What was the question? Wish list?
Which side of the ball needs the most attention?
It's defense. It's defense for sure.
Still is defense.
Yeah, it's still
defense.
defense.
Because I mean, coming in, we were underfunded, not talented. There's no difference makers outside of Buda Baker, maybe Kaiser White, on the defensive side of the ball. So that's got to change.
You guys would say that the Cardinals defense did good this season, right?
100%.
Well, they did better than they're supposed to. I mean, what, you pitch a second half shutout against the Lions?
Yeah.
What else? Who else did they shut out? Or we went that span of home games without giving up a touchdown. I mean, obviously they did a lot of good things.
Yeah.
One thing they couldn't do was rush the passer on a consistent basis and impact the game by pressuring the quarterback, which that's got to change. I mean, and the offense, I think offense definitely underperformed.
The offense was not good.
It was not. Absolutely. And you know who to blame? It starts with Kyler Murray and it ends with Kyler Murray. Can you blame it on some of the play calling? There was some questionable fucking play calling.
Yeah.
And it started off right off the year in that Buffalo game. But I think it just starts with Kyler's decision making after the bye week. You saw him just be completely careless with the football. And he's even been the one to, when we lose a bad game, he sits there and he takes the blame, as he should, as a leader of the football team. But I mean, we got to do something different. We do, because like I said, it starts with Kyler and it ends with Kyler with the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think I asked about the defense, and they did do good. I heard recently a Mike Tomlin quote talking about the decision to go with Russell Wilson over Justin Fields, because they were doing okay with Justin Fields, but Mike Tomlin said, obviously that wasn't very popular. I think in Pittsburgh, a lot of those fans wanted to see them continue to ride with Justin Fields, especially given what Russell Wilson did last year was kind of a downturn. But to tie it into the Suns, the defense did good, but Mike Tomlin said, good is the enemy of great. If you become content with being good, then you'll never be great. And I think that's the mentality that the Cardinals need to have when putting together this defense, is you can't hang your hat on the small accomplishments of having some good games defensively. You have to strive for greatness. And I agree, Mike, it starts with making a big splash move, going out and getting a guy. I mean, it's great in theory to build through the draft, right? You build these homegrown guys, got them on lower contracts, rookie deals, then maybe you can sign a big free agent. I know trades are a little more rare in football, but dude, you got to do something. You got to do something to buff this defense, because again, doing the same thing in and year out is not going to get the job done. I think re-signing Buda Baker is a great start, but you need to bring in someone else.
Absolutely.
Well, I will say too, I know you kind of asked the question, what side of the football are you going to focus on in regard to upgrading this offense? It's the defense. But the offense obviously still has some glaring positions. I think we're going to have to figure out what we want to do at right tackle. I don't think Jonah Williams is going to survive, unfortunately. You got to bring in a veteran wide receiver as well. Let's talk about it, guys.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, we talked about it beforehand. I love Michael Wilson. I think he has a lot of promise. But I think that this room is still too young. And guys like Zay Jones aren't the right type of leaders to be showing them how to take that next level step. Who was that? I can't answer that question. Is it an Adam Thielen? I don't know. It's I'm saying it's got to be somebody who has been through it. They might be on the downturn of their career,
Judy.
but can still.
Calvin Ridley.
Oh, yeah.
I love Calvin Ridley. I love that. But like I'm saying, somebody who's kind of been through the ringer, been through the mud, has had trials and tribulations at the wide receiver position, but has produced.
Straight for Tyreek
to start showing these younger guys and challenging them. I think that's the bigger thing too. Some of these guys have gotten a little bit too complacent, I think, with their positioning and didn't have any, somebody pushing them for playing time. Mm-hmm. And then that's the last thing. Fuck it. When Kirk Cousins gets bought out by the Atlanta Falcons, bring him in for a league minimum. Force Kyler to compete.
Yeah.
Force him to compete for his position. So I think overall, to really improve one side of the football, it still is a defensive end. There needs to be every down players that need to be completely changed out on the defensive end. Whereas on the offensive end, you're looking at maybe 1 to 2 spots, maybe the guards as well. But, light the fire under some of these guys and let them know that the time is now, because they didn't get it done when they had it this year.
Yeah, 100%. It goes back to what you're saying, like flooding the team with rushers is like, you need to put some pressure on these guys to compete for their positions. And I don't think, after a season like this, I think you have to say nobody's job is safe. James Conner and Budda Baker, your jobs are safe. But Trey McBride, your job's probably safe too. But all the other 49 of you, get in line. You're going to have to prove yourself. I mean, and that is even Kyler Murray. I want to go kind of way back to Tallman. You mentioned that there's no way the Vikings don't keep Sam Darnold. Is that true? They drafted J.J. McCarthy to be their franchise quarterback. Only reason he didn't start was because he was injured. Are they going to do the Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers thing and just have him sit behind Darnold for a few 2-3 years? Or does one of those players entice you? So if the Vikings don't re-sign Darnold, you want the Cardinals to target him. That's easy. But if they do re-sign him, do you want to try and make a trade for J.J. McCarthy?
Me?
Sure. Either one of you.
God, no. I was never a fan of J.J. McCarthy coming out of college. I mean, just...
He won a national championship.
Oh, my goodness.
Behind a dominant run game.
Yeah. And probably the best college coach that was coaching that year. I don't know. Are you the Vikings? Do you let Sam Darnold go because you have J.J. McCarthy, who... What did he do? He injured... He tore something.
Tore his
right?
ACL.
Yeah, something's pretty severe.
So he's never started an NFL game.
Yeah.
So it's like, no. And then right now the NFC North. I mean, that's the strongest division in football right now. You got the Packers, the Vikings, the Lions. I mean, those are some of the best teams in the league. I mean, the Vikings weren't supposed to be that good, right? They found lightning fucking in a bottle with Sam Darnold. You're gonna ride with that. I don't think they're gonna let him go, and because they have J.J. McCarthy, who's unproven. Do the Cardinals trade? No, I'd be pissed off if they did that. What if it's like what
if it's just like a 5th round pick?
They invested a 1st round pick in him. They're not letting him go. He's gonna be part of their experiment. I mean, I don't know how old Sam Darnold is, but
he's not that old.
Yeah.
Chris, I'll answer your question. 5th round pick, yes.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, yeah. No.
Hey, dreaming's free. Dreaming's free.
There is no way he goes for a 5th round pick.
No, okay.
But
no way.
Now, I think it's a different question if it's like if you trade for J.J. McCarthy and have to give up Kyler Murray within the same trade, or
Absolutely
the only
not.
way to get
Yeah.
him. No.
Absolutely not.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not willing to reset the rebuild like that. Just absolutely not.
I don't unload Kyler for an unproven commodity, like straight up. Even if you get, because we need a quarterback. Like if you get rid of Kyler Murray for a position player, even or draft pick, and you free up that cap space, you still don't have a quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know what you do. Clayton Tune's not the guy. Do we have a 3rd quarterback on the roster? I think we do, but nobody knows his name.
I actually don't know because I know we had Desmond Ridder on the practice squad.
That's right.
But is he still there?
I feel like someone picked up Ridder.
No, Ritter's on the Saints.
Yeah, so the Saints picked him up on the practice squad when they were having all their craziness. But that's the thing is like we have no prospect of anybody.
Oh, sorry, the Raiders. Sorry.
Oh, Raiders.
Yeah,
Okay,
he just started for the Raiders.
Oh, Jesus.
My bad. I'm thinking of Rattler. Sorry.
Oh, Spencer Rattler.
Ridder,
yeah,
Rattler.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I just don't know. It's for me, it's the built-in excuses for Kyler Murray that get old. It's the, he doesn't have the weapons, he doesn't have the O-line, he doesn't have the coaching, whatever it may be. And so I mean, yeah, O-line, big need. I mean, I think it's getting down to it, guys, where I don't want to keep talking in circles, but I do want to lastly ask you and share with you my predictions for what I think is going to happen in this offseason. Not what we hope is going to happen, but trying to be as realistic as possible. What do we think is going to happen? Tallman, you want to go first?
What do we think is going to happen in the
what do you
season?
You can be as broad as you want. You can be high level, or you can be very specific. Like, I think they're going to get this guy or this position.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I'll go first. Well, just want to note, Cardinals only have 2 quarterbacks on the roster.
Okay.
So I don't know who that imaginary guy is, Michael.
I think it was Ritter. That's what he was thinking of, right?
Yeah, but
He was signed to the practice squad.
I'm just giving you
I
shit.
didn't know. What's new?
Sorry. Okay, so prediction-wise, Kyler Murray is still going to be the starting quarterback of this football team. We're going to draft an edge rusher with our first pick. We're going to take Cam Skattebo in the 4th round. We are not going to go into next season with open cap space. We're going to spend all of our money. I'm thinking, I don't think we make a splash trade for an edge rusher, but I'm thinking we pick up a couple veteran guys. Where I think we spend some money, I mean, I'm curious. I should probably have looked at who the free agents are coming up wide receiver wise. But my prediction is we're going to throw some cash at a veteran wide receiver whose name that we know and we're going to be stoked about. And I think we're going to get, with the Skattebo injection into our veins, another wide receiver that is probably going to step in right away as the number 1 and Marv as the 2 and your boy at number 3. I think we're going to be a little excited about this football team, and there's going to be some expectations, and if they aren't met, Kyler Murray's gone.
Okay, so next year's the prove it year for Kyler, or last chance year.
Last chance for
Gotcha.
romance. Yes.
All right, Michael.
Last chance. This is the last chance. You know, guys, I'm really interested about what happens with Cam Skattebo because I think he could.
He'd be an immediate fan favorite.
He would be, but
Oh, wow, yeah.
but he isn't a speedster, and that's what you need to spell James Conner.
Yeah, but James Conner's not.
And Trey Benson isn't either. So if you're adding another guy, I mean,
he had
granted,
a shitty year
he's going to
too.
be able to break tackles. He's going to be a difference maker. He can catch balls out of the backfield. But you saw what kind of difference that Michael Carter looked completely.
He's starting.
A complete change of pace compared to what we saw the entire offseason or the entire season in that backfield. Is Michael Carter going to be on this team next year? I don't know. But you also have DJ Dallas, who you signed to multiple years to be your special teams guy, but he is in that room. Like, you can only have as many running backs. I would love to see Cam, but I don't know if it is a true fit for this organization right now.
He got clocked at 21 miles per hour.
That's great. I love it.
That's
if they're
fast,
gonna give up, if they're gonna give up, if
All
they're
right.
gonna give up on Trey Benson already,
Do you wanna bet
bring
on
in
his
Cam
40?
Skattebo. That's fine.
Do you want to bet on his 40 at the combine?
No, I don't.
Okay.
But
all right, we'll do that
maybe,
later.
Yeah,
Once we
maybe
get
later
closer.
we can
Once
start
we get
looking
closer,
at it.
we'll bet on.
We'll figure that.
I'll
one
set
out.
a line and you can pick. I'll let you pick.
But I just, sorry, I kind of got into the weeds on that one. But
All right, sorry.
So my
shut the fuck
predictions for this offseason, I think the beautiful thing about this front office is that they're showing us is that they see the talent and they make sure to keep the talent around. You talk about James Conner, you talk about Budda Baker. My prediction for this offseason is Trey McBride is going to get a very nice payday. He's going to be handsomely rewarded, but it's also going to be team friendly because they're going to be able to kind of structure some things around. But he's going to become one of the top paid tight ends in this league because they're going to want to lock him up. That's what it seems like this front office is already starting to move about culture, the guys that they want to build around, and keeping them in the building. Trey McBride, first guy. Second thing that I think is going to happen, I think these guys are smart enough to see how deficient the pass rush was. They're going to load up like crazy. You know, the same way that we brought in Bilal Nichols. Who else did we? I mean,
Jones.
Was it Jonathan Jones?
Justin Jones.
Sorry, the guys
Was that
played.
what it was?
They
I don't
played
know.
3 weeks and got
Yeah.
hurt for the rest of the season, so I don't remember their names anymore.
What was his name?
But they're going to flush the position and give guys opportunities to make this team, and it has to be different guys. And then I think you're going to bring in a veteran quarterback. That's really the only 3 main things that I really think for sure will happen this season. because these guys are smart. They see the deficiencies and they see that is what has to be addressed this year, upcoming. Because if not, their asses are on the line. I mean, that's what it is. Tallman always famously says it, and he's not the only one. What does the NFL stand for? Not for long. If you can't get it done, now, you're out the door.
Yeah. What have you done for me lately?
Yeah,
That's what it is.
no, I agree, and I think the line of people who are going to be under the microscope first, obviously Kyler Murray, Jonathan Gannon. Actually, no, I'd say in order it's probably going to be Kyler Murray, Drew Petzing, Nick Rallis, then Jonathan Gannon. I think I could see a scenario where if it's another down year next year and we don't make a step forward, they go to Gannon. We're like, hey, we want to keep you, but you need a new coaching staff because these guys suck. I don't want that to be the case. I want these young guys to come into their own. But in the second season now, Drew Petzing hasn't really taken a step forward as far as his play calling goes. I think he tries to be a little too cute sometimes, and it ends up just not getting us anywhere. But I appreciate everything you guys said there, and I could see it. I'm just going to keep my thoughts very short and very nihilistic. I don't see the Cardinals making any trades. I don't see them having any impactful signings. I think they're going to sign some guys. Nobody that's going to wow you or blow you off the page. You're going to be like, who? Oh, like, was it the guy from Philly we got a couple years ago? Was not Zaire White. Who was it? It was Kaiser White. Yeah.
He's a good football player.
It's decent.
I don't know.
He's decent. But I think they're going to do the same thing they've done the last 2 years. They're going to rely on the draft. They're going to hope they draft well, and they're going to hope that they're just going to hope and pray that their young guys get better and that Kyler Murray somehow figures it out. What they need to do is a lot of what we've talked about, but what I think they're going to do is, in typical Cardinals fashion, I don't think they're going to do much.
You know what's...
You were going to be negative.
Well, hold on a second. Tallman.
Sorry, go ahead.
You know what's sad and you know what's scary? Unfortunately, Chris's predictions when it comes to football are pretty spot on. So now I'm scared. You got me scared, Chris. Why you got to do that, man?
I know, Mike. I feel like I could be just a little emotional. Maybe this is my doomer take, because you're right. I feel like I am. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I can have some pretty good football takes. I did predict that the Chiefs were going to win the Super Bowl last year. We'll see how the Ravens do. I don't know. I have a very negative perspective on things just based off, being burned so much as a Valley sports fan in general, not just a Cardinals fan, but man, just talk about having high hopes and expectations, getting our hopes up just to have them be immediately dashed. I think maybe this is my way of protecting my own feelings, where if my expectations are rock bottom, then we do make a trade and I'm like, okay, let's go. I can be excited again. But but that is honestly how I feel right now, and that's subject to change. We'll see what these guys say in their exit interviews. Jonathan Gannon, he's very good at doing the bullshit. He just talks. He just says all the shit that you want a head coach to say. He's not like Kenny Dillingham. Like, Kenny Dillingham will tell you how he feels. Jonathan Gannon's like, oh, the guys played really hard. It was on us. The play call wasn't very good. Oh, Kyler Murray's great. Oh, and it just like feeds you bullshit. It's like my problem. Like, that's not going to change, because that was my problem with him when Kyler was out last year. Is it was just like the same bullshit of like, oh no, we're still confident. We still think we're going to be good. Oh, blah, blah, blah. It's like, be realistic, dude. Like, you don't have to sugarcoat things all the time, but you also don't have to come out and be like, yeah, we're not going to be very good. This is a rebuild year, blah, blah. But I don't know. I'm up and down on John Gannon. I think he stays, but yeah, very down and out on the Cardinals. But we'll see. We did our recap Tuesday. This was the Heat Check Podcast, episode 35. Gentlemen, anything else you'd got to get off your chest before we get out of here? Michael, I guess Tallman wants you to go first.
Me?
You.
2025, we're here. Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, we started this thing called Valley Sports Plug. 2019, we were still trying to figure things out, and then we revamped and restarted in April 2022. So we're coming up on 3 years. It's been an absolute pleasure. I can't wait to see what comes this year. I know we're going to have some changes, and that comes from you guys too. If you're watching this far, let us know what you want to see, man. We're about the fans. We're fans like you guys. We want to see what you want, and we want to make sure that we're having the discussion with you guys. But it's always a pleasure to have a discussion with you, Tallman, you, Chris. Appreciate you guys.
Always a pleasure, never a chore, right?
Yeah,
Tallman?
there you go. That's right.
He's got it.
We're motivated. We're dedicated. Someone might say we're the most dedicated. But I digress. No. I mean, that was great. 2025, new year, new me. I'm going to the dentist, motherfucker.
Let's go.
Pearly whites incoming for VSP Tallman.
Sorry, that was my last take.
Okay, so the Cardinals will hopefully fill holes on their defense. Tallman will get holes filled in his teeth.
mouth.
Yeah. Perfect.
That was good. That was clever.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, guys, I'm excited to keep rolling here into the new year. I obviously didn't know what to expect when we relaunched. I thought we were just going to have some fun and do this Heat Check podcast once a month, but we've just having so much fun with it. We wanted to expand and keep having conversations, bringing more content. In the last year, we added more contributors than we had in years past. Nico joined the group, and he's basically like one of the main, I wouldn't even call him a contributor at this point. Like, he is a host on our network and a staple of Valley Sports Plug. Love having him on. The Millers, bringing in Steven. Obviously, we'd had Ben in the past, but his brother Steven adds a lot of great insight. And I think, we just got to keep bringing people in, having these conversations. You guys in the comments, we're curious if you want to come in and chat with us. Maybe that's something we look at. Do you want to do set up some type of call-in thing where we have a Discord channel and you guys, we bring you on during the live streams and you talk to us on Discord and you share your opinions. I think stuff like that would be really cool. But yeah, if you made it this far in the show and you're still watching or you're still listening, we know you're a true fan and we know that you got some ideas. Hey, and if you think we're doing great and we don't need any changes, let us know that too. It really helps us out if you like and subscribe on our YouTube channel, on any streaming platform where you're playing our feedback, our playback. It'll help us out and boost us to keep growing. And the more we grow, the more we can do and bring this great Valley Sports content to you. But guys, let's go ahead and get out of here. This was Heat Check Podcast episode 35. For January, we're going to keep rolling. Make sure you go check out our Arizona Cardinals season recap live on YouTube now. But for Michael Benjamin and VSP Tallman, I'm Chris Patrick. See you next time. Peace.